the news this week, the mass deportations, the ICE raid, and the public outrage and backlash to this has really made me think about 1850 and made me feel like we need to review the Fugitive Slave Act. Now, you probably don't remember from your U.S. history class, and if not, I have a longer review for you here. But in 1850, the Fugitive Slave Act was part of this bigger compromise that was meant to kind of keep free enslaved states from, breaking out into a civil war. And the Fugitive Slave Act was seen as a really big win for the slave states. Now, what it did was it strengthened previous fugitive slave acts. So it said, hey, anyone in the North, you're required to return a fugitive slave back to its owner. That had always been the case, but it forces all local officials and local citizens in free states to comply and to help, or else they might be punished, fined, thrown in prison. So now local law enforcement were required to help seek out fugitive slaves and bring them back. And in fact, they were given incentives and bonuses and possible promotions if they did. Judges were incentivized, so the alleged fugitive slave would come before a judge, not a jury. There was no trial. They didn't have any right to defend themselves. All it took from the enslaver was a written affidavit saying, this guy's mine, and he ran away. That was it. And the judge would receive $10 if he found that this was in fact a fugitive slave and returned him, and would only receive $5 if he found that there wasn't enough proof. But arguably most important for public backlash is that it also said that any local citizen who was found to be giving shelter, food, support to a fugitive slave could be imprisoned for up to 6 months or fined up to $1,000. So if you imagine, let's say I'm a white, moderate woman living in Boston, and I've read the news for years about what's going on in the South, and I think it's just terrible. But honestly, there's never really a moment where I'm forced to do anything about it, because it's what can I do, right? I'm up here in Boston. Now, all of a sudden, I'm brought into the issue, and I'm forced to make a choice, because now any Black person that I see in Boston, I have to wonder, are they a fugitive slave from a month ago, from 20 years ago? Who knows? And if I do anything that is seen as helping that person, and later on they're found to be a fugitive slave, I could now be in trouble. Let's say I hire a Black man to help me fix my door, and then I pay him, and I give him food or whatever. And then it turns out later he's a fugitive slave. I could be brought before a jury and convicted. So in the short term, this is a really big win for the slave states, but in the long term, over the course of the 1850s, this is going to be one of the most impactful laws that pushes a ton of moderates, white moderates, who were slavery's bad, but what can I do, over to the side of full-out abolitionists. And in the next video, I'll talk about how did they resist.